Following program are those of the speakers and the host, and do not necessarily reflect those of Yoakley Scott Corporation and your sports network.
Yeah, I've been closer to Jesus before, so can you help me out? Oh, can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? But can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? But can you help me out? Can you help me out? I've been scared to look in my soul. I've been afraid I would follow the road. Yeah, afraid of the things I've been told.
Hello, everybody. Welcome inside a Tuesday edition of Running Point on ysnlive.com. As always, brought to you by can't even get through an intro. By Greenwood Chevrolet, Austin, Don Anthony Hartwig, alongside Ty Bartell. I'll tell you, Ty, the last 2 days, I don't know, I got some indigestion in my lungs. I was coughing all day.
Yeah, hopefully it clears up for you too. But we had a great day yesterday as well, and we're getting ready to go into just the second day now of your work week here on YSN. But we started it off Monday night with a bang.
We sure did, Ty. The softball all-star game concluded the all-star weekend and put a great bow on the high school spring sports season. Ty, you and me got the chance to call this game from the press box. What a night, man. Like I can't, I'm trying to organize my thoughts and try to like recap this game, but it's really hard to kind of navigate and organize everything that I want to kind of talk about.
Yeah, I mean it was just another great night and highlighted by great weather and great fans that were in attendance to support all these student athletes.
Yes, I did, and I stand by that statement.
I didn't even hear what you said. Did you say that?
I did.
You said that? I can't believe
That's why I kept going and hoping that no one really recognized it.
I heard the congestion, so I just
I meant
congestion in my
I
lungs.
meant congestion.
Yeah,
but
I know.
For some reason, it came out indigestion. I don't know why.
It was such a bad mess up. I think that my brain just corrected it to congestion. Was like, no way he said that. There's no way he said yes.
I'll own up to it. I absolutely said it. Meant congestion. Brain said indigestion. Don't know why.
I'm so happy Jay called that out because I would have never known if he didn't. Well, yeah. Hey,
at least it rhymes. At least it rhymes with congestion.
I guess it rhymes, but hey, at the end of the day, if our YSN All-Stars are giving you a little bit of indigestion in your lungs, I guess that's a good thing. They're taking your breath away, and I'll tell you, there were some breathtaking plays we saw in last night's game, man, and there's some breathtaking results that I've seen from Class B baseball from last night. It was a wild Monday night in the Valley.
Yeah, it was. We had baseball, the important baseball, like we said, the last week of 18U baseball and Class B, the last week of the regular season. We had the 14U championship series start, and then also we had the All-Star game at YSU softball complex. Ty, we'll get to the Class B results. Let's go over the All-Star game. Two teams. Nate Schick coached one, Hank Pizzulo coached the other. And man, I thought these rosters were pretty even going in. I thought it was going to be a competitive game. They did not disappoint. Back and forth all night. The lineups were so hard to pitch against. We saw really quality pitchers give up some hits, and we also got sprinkled in some good defense. So you look at the scoreboard, there were several innings that were clean. So it was a couple of crooked innings here and there that led to the high-scoring affair. But I think defense and pitching also flexed their muscles at times too. So it was everything you could ask from an all-star game from my perspective.
Yeah, it was a really great time too at YSU softball complex. We had a great crowd on hand for that one, and I mean, what a great game indeed. It was back and forth all the way through, and I mean, on top of all that, it was competitive. and it was a fun, entertaining softball game to watch. And that's what you see from these girls. They were leaving it all out. They wanted to come away victorious in last night's
Yeah, I
game.
was telling you on the broadcast, I was telling you before the game, like, it's hard to get these girls to just take it like it's a fun event and not be super competitive and want to win. We saw that last night. We saw the pictures show it, the energy after sliding home and getting the score. The first play at the plate, I think it was Brooke Tater slid home, and it was a play at the plate. And she got up, like, fired up, like she wanted to win this game. Everyone wanted to win this game. They took it personally, and every girl that we talked to, they were balancing that. Yes, there's no pressure here. The result doesn't matter really, but it kind of does because we want to win this game. And that's what was awesome about it. You can't turn off the competitive nature. You can't water down the sport. And it was a great softball game.
I mean, highlights all around too, from batting to pitching to defensive highlighted plays from
How about the
players
play?
getting kind of out of position from their normal defensive position.
Do you remember the play that Chelsea Williams made after it ricocheted off the second baseman right to her, and she kind of got it and then tagged the bag herself with her glove?
Yeah, that was a great play. I mean,
The
the number of routine plays that your shortstops such as Ayla Ray, Maddie Sugar, that they made them look like routine in that 6
Keeping
hole.
the 5-6
They're not typically routine. Shout out Emily Denny for going long in last night's ball game as well. A 2-run blast. And it was funny. You called it. You said, I want to see some tanks this inning.
I want to see some tanks.
And that was that happened that exact inning we went to Denny's for that one as a 2-run shot from her.
The only thing that would have made it more fitting for the pun is if it was a grand slam.
Yeah, honestly, but some big hits all the way around. Ayla Ray had a bases clearing 3 RBI double like she's been doing, showcasing that she's starting to get power into that bat. But I think, and I mean, we talked about it. We awarded All-Star MVP to her. You can't go any further than Haley Croyle in this one, I think.
Yeah, what a story. We built it up coming in. It was her chance to go out on her own terms in a Hubbard jersey because of the injury right before the district tournaments. And man, did she take full advantage of it. She pitched a clean inning. She played great defense in the field, and then comes up to the plate after the announcement comes up that we can play 7 innings and this will be the last inning. Her team down by 1 with 2 runners on, and she delivers the game-winning base hit.
And 2 hits on the day. You said pitched a clean inning as well. I mean, you go out on your terms with the Hubbard gear on as well. And yeah, it wasn't a sanctioned Hubbard game, I guess you would say, but
it was like it might not. It was like it was.
But you were wearing
your for Haley Croyle. It was absolutely a sanctioned game.
Yeah, I mean, it was a game you were wearing your Hubbard gear for one last time too, and it was a very special moment for her. And like we said, got to go out on her own terms.
Ty, one of my favorite things was seeing these new battery combinations and seeing the pitchers work with different catchers. And Haley Croyle said it best. She said every new catcher that you work with is a new opportunity to learn something about yourself, to learn something about the game, and to grow yourself as a pitcher. So to see all these different battery mates and superstar catchers catch superstar pitchers, the ones that we don't normally see, because obviously we saw the Caden and Carson connection, and we saw the Elena connection from Mooney and Crestview respectively. But there were a lot of batteries that we had never seen before that were really fun to watch them work together.
Yeah, I don't know if you could ever separate Carson Moore and Caden Sutton in that battery. I don't know. I mean, you try, but I don't know. That's a tough one. When pitchers have their specialized catcher, it's very tough to get them off of that baseball or softball when they have that kind of connection. But you've seen the talent level. I mean, the catchers did a great job defensively. I didn't see many defensive miscues behind the dish at all, honestly, last night. They were taking care of it on both sides.
Yeah, really, there weren't too many errors.
There was a couple wild pitches from like the pitcher to the backstop that went there, but I mean, I don't recall many pass balls or anything like that from the catchers either.
I remember early there might have been like one throw down to second where there was an infield miscommunication where they didn't know who was covering second, and it went through the center field. But other than that, a really clean defensive game. All the runs came from just really good at bats and really good hits. I mean, from my perspective, in the press box, there wasn't like bad pitches, that the pitchers weren't grooving balls down the middle to get blasted. They were just putting together really good at bats, really good swings. What you expect from an all-star lineup. I mean, it was really fun to watch.
Yeah, we had a lot of great highlights too, and it was a nice way to end the high school softball season in 2022.
And here comes the countdown when the next one starts. I'm circling the date. Here we go.
Yeah, you're already circling the date. I'm looking at the sports seasons that's next up in line while focusing on the one we're still trying to get through as well.
I'll get there, Ty. I'll get there. I'll get excited for volleyball and football and golf in the fall. I'll get there. But right now, still some softball to be played for travel, and I'm still hanging on to softball. So
you're still getting
I'll get there, Ty. Don't worry.
The next high school season. You might get excited for volleyball, football, but deep down, you still got that excitement festering in you for softball.
We still got a trip to Columbus in our future for the Steel Valley Storm. So I'm still holding on to softball.
Do we want some breaking news?
We never say no to breaking news, DJ. That is an absolute fact. If you want to come on and bring us some awesome breaking news, then we are more than welcome to pop in. Yeah.
But I mean, to kind of just wrap up this All-Star game, it was another great night too. Kind of, it was going to be an All-Star weekend, but it was we had the rain in between. But hey, it gave a lot of these players
an extended weekend. It was a holiday weekend.
Yeah, they rested up and they brought the bats, they brought the arms, and it was a great night all around for our second.
We never gave out the actual result. Team Pizzullo won 12-10. For those of you that didn't see the score, so Team Pizzullo won 12-10, and it was a walk-off. Not technically walk, but it was a walk-off hit from Haley Croyle that won the game in the bottom of the seventh.
Oh, boy. Look at this. For the first time ever, we will have a volleyball all-star game this fall. Undefeated, mic drop. And you and I were talking about this because, right, we talk about how we were able to have the basketball and then baseball, softball all-star games in the seasons. We wanted to do something in the fall, but we always talked about the difficulty. First and foremost, you can't really do much with football when they're in the dead heap of a season. It's hard to kind of organize that for football. Plus, there's so many other games that they participate in for that. But volleyball, the difficulty is just because they jump into the next season so quickly. But I feel
really, like if you think about it, you gotta have a break between volleyball and basketball because volleyball ends well before the football season ends. So there's because it's a quick season. They cram a lot of games into about a month and a half because you're playing Monday, Wednesday, Friday, whatever for volleyball. I think there's quality time to do it, and obviously we're gonna do it, which is awesome. But I think there's actually a pretty good window between volleyball and basketball that you could probably fit a pretty good all-star game in.
Volleyball is quickly becoming one of my favorite because I mean, you know me as a basketball junkie, but so similar in like the stats and like the team mentality of how you have to play in volleyball, similar to basketball. I mean, there's obvious big differences in the sport, but there's some similarities. The stats, first and foremost, have similar tendencies in how you keep track of stats and which stats certain things kind of.
It's a lot of math in both stat keeping.
Yeah, for sure. I like the fast paced, high energy of that, and the fact that we might be able to get some of the area's best.
I'm already like names are popping in my head. Grace Allen.
What about the volleys we're gonna get? They might go 5 minutes with volleys every time.
Brie Littell, Jocelyn Jordan. I'm just like, oh, here we go.
Oh man, look at this. Here's a breakdown. We will have 2 teams, but each team will have 5 pods of 6 or 7 that will create a 5-set showcase of the best in our valley. That is going to be fun, honestly, because like I said, imagine the number of like 2 volleys that we might get into with these teams.
So basically, what DJ is going for is the 2 teams will have.
They will have 5 pods.
So like for each set, you'll have a rotation basically.
Yep. So
you got to rotate. So you're gonna have. So like in each set, you're gonna have 1 setter, but they're gonna have to rotate through the back. So every team's gonna have to play a 5-1 offense and keep their setters in.
I like the way he has that figured it out because then it gives everyone playing time in a set, and you're able to rotate it. Imagine these drafts now. Because like when you have the drafts or how we're gonna shuffle them, imagine what the way these coaches have to make their rotations now.
you're gonna have to have like seven players per pod. That way, you don't have to like put your middle blocker in the back row.
Yeah.
But yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be fun to kind of figure out how that all works. So obviously,
I'm excited for it.
My brain's like in hyperdrive now.
I could see us having a game like that, and like I said, I'm imagining just 5-minute volleys of just
Or just give it every team one libero and say when your front row people rotate, the libero just goes in for your middle blocker per se. Or
I like
leave
it.
as some people say. I say libero.
Now to have all-star game coverage and just about every season now, that's huge too. We've been talking about it, and we've been kind of wishing to have a volleyball all-star game because we have so much volleyball talent in the area as well.
You really do.
This is going to be really cool, and I mean, not too far away, folks. Honestly, you can't imagine because you said it, and volleyball season roughly is like a month. So this is only like.
Let me get the date because I remember it'll start the Saturday after football, the first Friday of football.
First Friday of football is August 19th, if I'm not mistaken.
The volleyball season will start on Saturday, August 20th. And here comes DJ.
The boss man will just be able to explain it, give us exactly how it is straight from the source. How we did.
Right, so we've been trying to figure this out for a couple of years, and it just kind of hit me the one day of, okay, what if we essentially have 5 teams that make up that one team? So we kind of created pods. Is the buzzed term, I guess, buzzword. So Anthony, you're saying that we have to have 7?
I would, because like you're gonna have 6 players on the court at once. But if you watch volleyball, you know that like a lot of teams don't have a middle blocker rotate to the back row. So what I would do is just have your 2 defensive specialists, your setter, your 3 hitters, and then maybe a libero on each pod.
I'm okay with that. And that gets more girls involved too. So if you have 7 times 5, that's 35 people on each side. So you're talking 70 girls. Okay, I'm in. I'm invested in it.
We got 50 plus schools, and I think, I mean, some of them are obviously going to get more than one. There's really talented schools all over. I could definitely see us being able to draw that many. And like Ant said, I think that period between when volleyball and basketball is going to be huge for a volleyball all-star game.
Well, and the thing is you see a couple volleyball all-star games here and there, but again, when you guys were able to watch, and it always amazes me, I know how many kids there are, I know how many schools there are, but at the end of the night, both on Saturday and last night, that one picture with all the jerseys, all the uniforms, all the schools represented, all the girls, all the coach, all of that, it's overwhelming when you look at that, because it's everybody in one picture representing every school under the banner of YSN. And now we do it for volleyball because they're hitting me up. They're like, well, why don't you do it for football? Well, we can't do it for football because, like you said, Ty, by the time you get to the state championships, it's December. And then those kids are done. And then there's a lot of liability with that too, because if kids get hurt, then, we have the liability waiver that we have people sign. But the problem is a lot of these insurance companies are going to charge you an arm and a leg to just have one game. And then you're not making any money for the charities that we have. So there's a lot of things that go into that. But for volleyball, for basketball, for baseball, for softball, it's limited liability, right? Because we saw, it's not that they took kind of their foot off the pedal, but it's a different environment, right? I don't see anybody really barreling down a catcher, even though we almost saw it last night. Ted Hogan put a stiff arm in there, just pow. But it was, I mean, excuse me, sorry, Ant, didn't mean to take your line there.
All good.
How you start the show?
Got some indigestion.
This one brought to you by the indigestion in your lungs. But I think, guys, at the end of it, it's time. It's time that we take a risk on volleyball. I will always admit it's one of my favorite sports to call. It's so high octane. And for Anthony, it's a great opportunity because We have the football games, but he only really gets to have fun with the basketball all-star game and with this. So the same way that we've made our hay with softball and baseball is we're gonna throw some investment down. We'll pick a charity, which last night and on Saturday we raised over almost $3,800 for Project MKC. So we'll pick another charity that lines up with our morals, our values, and our goals and our mission. And we will lock horns with them for volleyball. So I figured Anthony'd be a little excited.
You know what I'm thinking, DJ? We could use the setter position, kind of like the pitcher. Maybe give each team like 3 setters that could rotate through 5 pods.
Oh no, the pods have to stay together.
We want pod matchups is what we want.
Pod matchup, because then you're drafting pods, right? Then you're sitting there.
Oh, I like that idea. Okay, now I see where you're going.
That goes into the draft is so much more because you got to draft.
So you're drafting a pod of 7 or 6 or 7 players or whatever, and saying this is
it, because and then you can say and it makes it easy on coaches as well, which I'm hoping that we have some great volleyball coaches. There's one in particular that I have. Really, there's 2 in particular I would love to have, especially the first one, be the honorary coaches. But I think that when you look at this, having that it kind of dialed out for them, because baseball and softball, I feel so bad because I just walk in and they're like, hey, we're going to bat 25. Okay, knock yourself out. Like whatever you want to do. We want to make it fun. But for volleyball, there's a lot of strategy in it. And obviously we want to limit the amount of stress on the coaches. So if we could go in and we say, hey, this is pod 1, pod 2, pod 3, pod 4, pod 5, and these are the games that they play in, there's absolutely zero. Like they can just coach. They can just, and that's I think what is cool, because let's say you have a Dan McKinstry, who's the all-time winningest coach in volleyball history in the state of Ohio. If he's coaching one of the teams, he doesn't have to worry about the 1s and 2s. He just gets to coach you, and you get to hear from one of the volleyball legends of our valley and just play, and be supportive and stuff like that. And I just think there's great opportunity with this, and obviously we can help a lot of people and pack another gym. And parents can know, okay, my kid's playing in game 3, and understanding that, kind of like baseball and softball, they might not be out there the entire time, but they're there for a multitude of reasons, because they're an all-star, because they're valued, and because obviously it's teaching them to have, to give back to our community.
Also big to note too, as far as like the football is concerned, although we don't have our own YSN All-Star-esque game, we've covered and we've live streamed plenty of All-Star-esque type football games as well throughout the season. So we still get you coverage on that, and those athletes are still highlighted in that way. But like you said, I mean, volleyball was we were waiting for that one to drop, and it finally is dropping now. And I think this is huge for all these volleyball athletes in the area to be represented in one gym.
There was a couple of ways to do it, right? So we're partnering with athletics over in Columbiana, and one of the ideas was, okay, what if we do 2 courts at the same time and have 2 different broadcasts of 2 different games going on at the same time? And while I like it, it's out of the box thinking. I just think it'd be too much, and I want the focus to be on one floor. And these girls, and I hate breaking up the focus of one particular game, and obviously breaking up the focus of our broadcasts, because Anthony, having you and Ty together is valuable to us, to the viewer. So having you guys announce the All-Star game would be huge. And I think that picking out a venue where we haven't been before, I have a couple of venues in mind. I think it'd be very beneficial, and we can highlight that area of the community in the valley. So I'm looking forward to it. I think that this is the answer, and thinking about it so much, all of a sudden you kind of get those aha moments. And that was an aha moment when I said, what if we do pods? And I don't know how I was watching something and they started saying pods, and everything went full circle in my head, and a light bulb went off. And I thought, okay, this is how we do the volleyball game, because then it's uber competitive, and it's almost like a relay race where you're hoping, if one wins one, you better tie it up, because you don't want to go down 2-0 and be that third pod and lose it for your team, and it's all over. So I think there's a lot of value that goes into it. I think we can have a lot of fun with the draft, and getting some of the coaches in there. Because our ultimate goal on these draft presentations is to get the coaches to talk about the kids, not me. Because it was brought to my attention last night, Brooke Tater. I apologize profusely, because apparently I called her Brooke Tartar, and they called me out. They were like, "I can't believe you called her Brooke Tartar." I was like, "I don't remember doing that, but I am terribly sorry. She is not a sauce. Like, she has the sauce, but she is not the sauce."
No, she's definitely a great swinger as well. But I love looking at these all-star games too, and I love seeing that now we're going to be able to have this volleyball one and opening these gyms up. These schools have so graciously done for us for these all-star games as well, and I mean we can't thank them enough. I love having different host sites too. It's literally like the all-star game too, just having a different school host site for each one. I think is so awesome.
There and softball will probably be at a different location next year. I was a little bit disappointed with the lights not being able to go on and finish what we started, because you guys know how I feel about finishing, right? We promised 9 innings. I want to finish that game and get 9 innings, but it was getting to the point where it was dangerous. It was dark, and you don't want. And for some reason, there was lights on in the outfield. You know what I mean? Like in the distance, so it was hard to see the ball. And catchers were having trouble, finding it. So once catchers are having trouble finding the ball, it's time to shut her down. So we had to err on the side of caution last night, and I think the parents understood, and the girls certainly understood because they were having trouble seeing. But one of those things where we appreciate YSU so much, and it is an undertaking for them because they're working on nights that they're pretty much closed. You know what I mean? Once districts are over and once YSU finishes their season, they pretty much close up shop. So for them to open up their doors to us and allow us to rent the facility, we're greatly appreciative. But I think that there's something different about having it at a high school field. There's having it at Scene, there's a special place, and I don't think we'll ever walk away from Scene Park as long as they'll have us for the boys All-Star game. But we're looking for that special spot for our other games. And we'll move around, I think, in basketball this year. And I think in volleyball, we'll move around again and just try to highlight some of the beautiful gymnasiums and beautiful facilities we have in our valley. And I think that's part of it, right? Is being able to showcase that as well. And something that, people maybe have never been before. Some of these folks that have never been to Scene Park before Saturday night and never been to YSU before last night, their eyes were open, and that's a college field. So you're playing on a college field, and we saw some people that were from college that were looking at these ladies like it's a showcase.
Yeah.
The same thing happened on Saturday.
I can personally guarantee there were college coaches there because I saw some of them.
I did, yeah.
So,
and they thanked us, and I was like, wow, okay, maybe we can get some advertising from your college on here, and it'll make it a little easier for us to do.
Mentioning that, DJ, I guess the one question I just have from you, from a company's perspective and from your voice itself, how big is it adding this volleyball all-star game and the continued growth of YSN as a company?
Well, I think for us, it's kind of a carrot for the schools. You know what I mean? And, with what we do already, and I don't think we have to explain ourselves. I think the majority of people understand what we do. We're providing a service that we're typically paying schools. Like we are paying the schools out of our pocket, something that is typically a service that they have to pay for or subscribe to, in some form or fashion. And the parents have figured it out that we're more than just a stream. We're a broadcast. And the All-Star games help because we highlight their kids. And it's not just one, it's not just two, it's not just picking the schools that generate revenue through advertisements. It's every school we have has the opportunity to be represented. We send out invites and we try to make the best we can. And sometimes they make it and sometimes they don't. And we had three schools, I think, that at the end of the night last night were the only ones that couldn't make it. One, there was a death in the family. So we completely understand. And a couple other ones, just it couldn't happen because they could have been there Sunday and Monday they had to work, and we understand. And we'll take the heat. We get some heat sometimes when people don't see their picture and they don't know the full story. We get it, but I think parents understand that at the end of the day, their kids are valued with YSN and being able to be part of these all-star games, which have never happened really before, especially by a media company. to where we're streaming. It's a great stream. You guys are talking. And not only what I thought was cool last night and Saturday night was you have the game that happens and the parents and the fans are there. And then they go back and they watch the game again on our Facebook feed, or they go back and they buy it on ysnlive.com, whatever it may be. And then they clip it out themselves. And it's like experiencing it again, because you guys talk so highly of their kids, and Richie did such a good job of talking about their kids and doing the background and, the stuff that you guys do to get ready for these games. And Anthony, your vast knowledge right off the top of your head, is amazing. And these parents appreciate it. And I think we all understand that parents are the ones rowing the boats in these communities, in these schools. Because if it wasn't for the parents, they wouldn't have the kids naturally, if you know how that works. And then that, from that standpoint, the schools wouldn't be able to have these programs. So it all starts with the parents. And, from our standpoint, we have the support of the parents. I would say at a 90 to 95% clip. And it's very humbling, but people think that it's easy to do. People think that these things just happen. And, I was explaining it to trying to think of the player's mom, Zach Harib from Carter Mooney on Saturday night. This is like planning a wedding, right? It is an undertaking. There's a lot of resources that go into these games, and I'm very thankful for the people that thank us after the games, because there's a lot that goes into it. You guys know my stomach hurts from planning these games and some of the things that go into it, and having the, parents ask us, why isn't my kid in it? And we hate telling them that they're not an all-star. That's like that. We try to have a soft landing spot. And sometimes it's, your kid might hit 100, right? But that's a high character kid. And we heard, or we saw something that happened that season, and we think they should be acknowledged for it. So that's why some of these kids are invited to the game. And I'll just be point blank on that, because we want high character kids being part of this game. If you bat 900 and you're a jerk, sorry,
we're not going to highlight you.
Yeah, it's just not going to happen. But that's few and far between. That really is. But these all-star games, I've always been an advocate for these games, because if they are able to do something that is supportive of the community, right? These kids should not be a direct affiliation to you lining your pockets. And I understand business, but they should not be a direct a correlation to you making money on any game from a standpoint of an all-star game, except if there's a nonprofit that is completely, just kind of riding the shotgun with you, and you can support them. And we've been very fortunate to have people that say, yes, we want to be affiliated with your logo. We want to be affiliated with what you're doing. We love what you're doing. And if you notice, it's always something to do with kids, because in my heart, I love kids. I think kids are it. Probably I'm just throwing it out there. We'll probably have something to do with Akron's and for the volleyball one, because I'm a huge advocate for what they're doing here in Boardman. I don't know the official title of it, but it's just Akron Children's Hospital in Boardman or Mahoning Valley or something like that. So I'm going to be reaching out to them and trying to get them involved for the one. I'm hoping, Anthony, when's a good month for that? Is that November?
Usually most of our teams would be done with tournaments in mid-October. So I would say late October, early November.
Okay. So almost like a Halloween tournament kind of deal.
Right.
Or Halloween showcase. So
that'd be kind of cool too if it lined up right around that too. And
I'm just saying the shirts will be sweet, because we can do a lot with the shirts. I thought the shirts turned out really well for this year as well. We sold out of mediums before.
Yeah, people were lining up to buy them in both nights.
Yeah, and we're gonna have Quinn and I were just talking about this. We're going to have a like all the shirts we have left. We have boxes and boxes of shirts, not just from this event, but from last year's, from the basketball. We're going to line them up, and we're going to have like a 2 for $10 sale that everybody can buy shirts, because we need space. Like t-shirts are taking over, and Brian's going to kill me, I'm pretty sure. But he likes the shirts. So, and I like people that represent YSN, that's the other cool thing is when kids are taking part as a thank you, they get a t-shirt from us. And I couldn't be more grateful that I see it everywhere. Like last night to this morning and on Saturday, you're seeing those t-shirts everywhere. And kids putting on social is so cool because they appreciate it way more than like my generation would. We just showed up, we play, we go home, and that's it. We might put an away message up back in the day of instant messenger and AOL, but the reality is these kids are tweeting it, they're putting it on Instagram, they're tagging us and everything. And I couldn't be more grateful because it's a lot of work, and we're never going to sit here and pat ourselves on the back. We think that it's part of who we are, a makeup of our DNA now. It's not just kind of the cherry on top. We owe it to the kids, we owe it to the communities, and we owe it to the parents to put these events on, put thought into it, and understand, your kids are valuable to us. We're going to take care of them. We're going to lift them up, and hopefully we have a good show. And we were very fortunate to have good shows on both nights, especially the baseball one. You kind of had to force it a little bit, but it was a good show at the end of the game regardless.
Yeah, what excites me about this volleyball game is just like baseball, just like softball, just like basketball, there's a group of kids that put that sport first, that are volleyball players first, and either don't play the other sports or play the other sports, but are those role players that really don't get the limelight in the other sports. That now we get to highlight them and give them that all-star game for that experience.
Yeah, and I completely agree with you, and I think every sport deserves it. But unfortunately, like
Right.
Donnie Riccatelli, my brother from another mother, it was like, we got to have a track all-star meet, and I was like, I don't know how you do that. Like I'll think about it. If you can help me, like put together the concept, I'm happy to do it. But I don't know how you would do. That's basically the state meet, right? Like I don't know. The other thing would be, you mix up a 4x4.
Yeah, I was about to say the only thing I could think of is trying to do like a relay.
That's about all I could think of. And he's like, let me put some thought into it. And if you know Donnie, my buddy, he is going to like noodle on this until he's got it down to a science. So that could be coming down the stretch. One of the ones I'd really like to put together is a celebrity all-star game, celebrity softball game before the game next year. Having people from 21 and people from around the valley step up and into the all-star game and raise some extra money for kids. I know we talked about it. A home run derby. It's going to happen next year. We're going to do it. I don't care what we have to do. We're going to do a home run derby. And I think that'll be another nice fundraiser for, Project MKC. And I think we're going to stick with kind of the seasons, right? So basketball season will be Golden String, baseball and softball will be Project MKC. Hopefully in the fall, it'll be Akron Children's Hospital, things of that nature. That way we can get involved and just stay and raise that money. I mean, guys, we've raised over $8,000 in 3 months, with our really 3, or you count basketball as separate events. I think that was one event, but with however many events you want to count it as, $8,000 to charity is something that when I started and Brian and I started, I need to stop saying when we started YSN, I never thought it was possible. We were just happy to get $100 sponsorship at the time from Libs Market. So, to be able to give a check for $3,900 or whatever, $3,790 to the great people at Project MKC and all the great things they do, you're going to see it quickly, a direct reflection on not only our area guys, but the people involved with Project MKC, because just as, someone had faith in us and people have faith in us to sponsor us and to advertise, I want people to have faith in Project MKC and really dig their heels in and dig their cleats in. And let's make sure we make a difference for all these kids around our valley.
It's an exciting time too, DJ. I guess the final question, I guess, for you, just promoting this volleyball season. Now that we have an all-star game, I think it gives people all the more reason to tune into volleyball games that we're going to have live stream. How excited for you at the potential of 3 to 5 minute volleys that we could have in these all-star games?
I mean, you think some of the great volleyball teams that we have in our area, and being able to put all that talent on the floor at one time is going to be awesome. It's going to be absolutely awesome. I can't wait for it. I know Anthony kind of had the notion that we were doing this. We've had conversations, and he's almost in tears, because there's an opportunity for us that give me 2 minutes, and then what we'll do is, we'll have some great things happen. We'll have great things happen the same way that we've seen in baseball, the Michael Morrow moment. We're going to do our research, have that. When Denny hit that home run last night, it was a very special moment in her career and her life. And I know for her folks and her coaches, it was very special for them. So I'm excited for everything that can become. And I'm excited for the future YSN, not just the All-Star games, but for, I had a conversation with 3 different people that didn't have YSN, and fingers crossed they're going to have YSN by the fall. And that's the thing, guys, is, we don't want to charge schools. We know that they're on a strict budget, but they have to understand we're a business and we need to make money in order to do some of these special things that we do. And if we're paying schools or organizations or whatever, then we can't do some of this stuff. We're living in a tough economy right now, just straight up. Everybody knows it. And if we have to cut, budget and do things, then, it's the All-Star games that have to go. And if we can't make that impact to charities and things of that nature, and we can't afford to buy new technology, new cameras to go out to our new schools, then we can't grow and do some big things. And I think the problem is I think it's not a problem. It's a misconception that we're sitting here counting money back at HQ. And that's not it. We're pouring money back into our technology so that way we can have a better product for schools, for organizations, and for everybody in the community. So that way they can be proud of YSN, because we are a small business and we are a local business, and we will always, always, always feature this local area, the 330 Western Pennsylvania, over any other, no matter how big we get.
Thank you so much too, DJ. I know you're a busy man, so you got to get to other tasks as well. But I appreciate you coming on the show too with this breaking news. I mean, this is huge for the future of YSN, and I know both Anthony and I are looking forward to it.
We're fans of all these different schools, man, and all these different players. I had to tell all these parents last night, we're such fans of what their kids do, not only on the field, but off the field as well. And you guys, you were a gem last night. I can't tell you how much and how appreciated you are. So thank you guys so much for all you do. Continue the great work, and thanks for letting me invade your show for a couple minutes.
You got it, Deej. Ooh, that's exciting.
Yeah, I mean, and we're going to talk about it more as we draw closer to the actual day and we have like a day in place. But how exciting is that for people in the area now and all the volleyball fanatics? Because as well as I do, and volleyball, it's starting to gain more popularity. And I really do credit YSN, especially last season, that the coverage that we got for volleyball was great. I think we're going to knock it out of the park and do even better this season. I think it's going to help really generate that interest in volleyball, because volleyball for the longest time has been kind of like your niche sports, right? It's kind of similar to like your wrestling, but I feel like it's got the qualities and it has the excitement to where it shouldn't be a niche sport. I feel like it should be right up there with your basketballs, your baseball, softballs, your footballs, the ones that you're talking about. It has all the excitement. It has the level of strategy. It has fantastic athleticism. And we had a lot of it on full display on ysnlive.com last year. And
well, I'm just like I said before DJ come on, now all these players' names are rushing to my head, and I'm thinking about like how it's going to work and what you have to put in these pods and how you have to strategically put people where, and I'm not so excited.
Like DJ said, the drafting of the pods is going to become interesting, because now you're drafting kind of teams and lineups that best fit a 6 or 7 person rotation. 7.
Yeah, and like in each pod, you're going to have probably 5 hitters, 1 setter, and 1 libero, I would say. And then the libero will cost, so like your middle blocker, usually when they rotate in the back row, you can just put your libero in. You don't have to use a substitution. And that's what I would think a pod would pretty much consist of: 1 setter, 5 hitters, and 1 libero.
And you got to kind of you got to pick and choose your battles, because some of these teams have girls with a lot of height. Do you go with one lineup that has a lot of height? Do you try to mix it out? Do you kind of try to spread it around? I mean, you have a multiple opportunities.
That's why I'm excited to make these pods, because like each pod will be like strategically different. If like now I'm thinking like, okay, this pod has a really good setter, but this pod has really good hitters. Do I want to go with the really good hitters, or do I want to go with the really good setter? mix and match. We're not gonna load one pod and then like put the other ones, lower tier. We're gonna balance out these pods, but that means you're gonna have to make decisions on whether you want to get pods with really good defense, pods with good setters, pods with good hitters. What aspect of the game coaches focus on more? Because everyone has philosophies on what the most important thing in volleyball is. My opinion is passing. Like I would always take the best defensive pod first, because if you can't put the ball in play or put the ball up in the air, everything else doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how good of a setter you have or how good of a hitter you have. If your defense can't pass the ball to your setter, all out the window. So
No.
I would go with the good defensive pod first if I was a coach.
So the question becomes then is that, I mean, we'll obviously we'll get the confirmation on the draft, but do we make the pods and have coaches just draft the pods then?
I think that's what we're going. That was my understanding.
Okay, because that's pretty cool then. Because then I mean, you would have essentially 10 pods that you kind of start out with. That's
10 pods, and every pod will have a little bit of a different strength or a different kind of strategic value, and you're gonna have to draft 5 each and go, and we'll play 5 sets. The winner of 3 out of 5 gets the victory.
You might not. You could take the drafting out of it, and we can just do the random hat then too.
And I think this lends itself to a fair draft, because the reason we kind of ventured past drafting and into the selection is so no one says, "Hey, I'm the last pick," because it's all random, right? So that's why we kind of went from the basketball draft a couple years ago to this year drawing cards, because then no one really felt like they were the last picked person in the draft. This time, you're not the last picked. Everyone's going to kind of be in a pod, so you're just kind of in a pod that happens to be the last pick, but every pod's going to have bona fide superstars. So I think that kind of chucks away the whole "oh, I got picked last" kind of feeling, in my opinion. So I don't know how we'll do it. I don't know if we would do it. Coaches come in and draft, or if we just kind of assign pods to coaches or what. But it'll be fun.
There's different ways you could play around with it. We could do something where we only show like half the pod, so you only know 3 girls out of it, or like 4 girls in it, and then
how about this? We only show the stats of the pods, but not the actual name.
That's a good one too. I like kind of keeping it in the dark, because I don't like the names on it. I want to show this. That's a good one. Show the stats, and then you got to look at the stats of the pods, pick it, and then it's just like these random girls. It's just like you're in A pod, B pod, and it's like, all right, he picked B pod, and then all these girls are the ones that you find out as you draft them. Okay, here's the 7 that I got.
Like in this pod, there is a libero with 150 digs, and there's a setter with 350 assists. You have a hitter with 200 kills. He hits at a 230 clip.
Stats and be like, all right, I know who that is. We need this pod.
That would, of course, mean that we have to get all the stats to us, which would be a headache. But hey, if that's what we want to do, I'm game to do it. I'll put my hard hat on and I will venture and try to get all those stats
we'll
possible.
Discuss it more as the date gets closer, but I really like the idea of a blind draft, honestly, of just going off of strictly numbers and just picking that, because then you don't know who you're picking.
That idea pops up because, like, when we're talking when national basketball tournaments and they're trying to decide, they're telling the analysts what team you think should get in. They do those little blind ones where they say Team A has this amount of wins against Power 5 teams and this amount of RPI top 25 wins. Do they deserve to get in more than Team B, who has this kind of resume, but you don't know who the teams are? So that's kind of where I got that idea, where you have this pod that has a setter with this amount of assists and a hitter with this kind of hitting percentage and maybe a libero with this amount of digs. Do you want that pod, or do you want this pod that has a libero with more digs and a setter with more assists, but not maybe as strong statistically hitters?
I think it's going to bring all that intrigue to it, because then it also takes away coaches that might want to draft pods that have a lot of their school represented in it. And then you could draft a pod too, and the opponent team could draft a pod that has literally almost all of your girls that you coach during a season going against you. And I think that would bring some interesting storylines. We'll talk about it, but I think that's a great idea.
There are so many names that pop into my head that I'm excited that they can get an all-star game now, because they are, like I said, they're volleyball first players that either don't play the other sports, or they're kind of role players in other sports that maybe don't get the limelight in the other sports. They just play to kind of be a leader. your Brie Littell's from Girard, volleyball through and through, right? She's going to be shining bright this season as a junior. And barring anything crazy, that she's going to be on an all-star team. Lauren Pallone, another player from Girard that really dives into volleyball and is really shines brightest in volleyball. The Our Girls from Crestview, Emsh from Crestview. The names go on. Jocelyn Jordan from Fitz. She's pretty much dives into volleyball, goes to high-level volleyball camps, was at Tennessee's volleyball camp earlier this summer. So, players like that kind of put volleyball in the forefront of their minds that are going to get highlighted in this season. I'm so excited for it.
I mean, you also have other big names, of course. You can't go without looking like Tara Little too. That
Lytle, yeah, from Lakeview.
Lytle. Maggie Pavlansky is another one that I can think of. Reagan Price had a solid season from Lakeview. There's a lot of great teams out there. You mentioned Crestview. You mentioned what Wellsville usually does. Lakeview, Girard. There's some great volleyball programs.
Panagal from Hubbard, great volleyball player. Hubbard's going to have a really good volleyball team this year. They had a lot of young players kind of step up last season. Now they're going to have a year under their belt.
Hubbard has been a powerhouse in that NE8 before, volleyball-wise. They've been a tough team to get past.
Remember, for a long time, they were one of the best teams in the area. Then they had a girl whose name escapes me graduate a little bit early to go start with the Ohio State volleyball program and start her career with Ohio State before her senior season. And that kind of set the program back a couple of years, but they've got a great coaching staff and they have a great foundation, a great youth program. It just took them a couple of years to get those youth programs back up to the varsity level. And now you saw that last year where a bunch of freshmen and sophomores came back up with a lot of talent, and the Eagles are going to be ready to go this season in a tough NE8 with Lakeview and Girard already in there.
It's going to be a fun season. I can't wait. As we get closer, we'll obviously talk about it more, and we're going to have plenty of volleyball games on the network. Thanks to our sponsors. And I know we're going to have to pay some bills and thank our sponsors here. But did you have anything else you wanted to say to wrap up this discussion on the All-Star volleyball game that we're going to have coming up this year?
Don't say the word spike.
Yeah, that's the one thing. If you're going into this season, let's learn the lingo. But like I said, Ant, I do think this is going to create an avenue to open so many more doors to volleyball as a sport for people who may not have watched it prior to. I think we had great viewership in numbers and a lot of people that introduced themselves to the sport last year. I think you're going to see that uptick continue. And I mean, not to pat ourselves on the back too much, but I think our wonderful announcers at YSN do a great job of making sure that those games do get covered.
You get to watch volleyball a little bit closer, right? Because now
there's all-star teams that can be at the end.
Oh man, that performance tonight might have locked her into the all-star game. Stuff like that. You gotta watch.
It'll certainly be excited.
I'm also excited for new faces in volleyball. I've heard rumblings that a couple of teams have really good freshmen coming up. So every year there are new faces. So I'm excited to kind of meet the new names that kind of come up and replace some of the seniors that graduated last year.
There's certainly a lot of great names that are in 8th grade, middle school right now that are coming up that we're excited for.
I'm looking at Abby Muckleroy from Canfield, who's going to be a great volleyball player that's going to have to step up into a much bigger role for that team than Abby Householder graduated. So that's one of the big names that I can also think of off the bat. Names are just popping in my head now that I'm thinking about volleyball. I'm so excited. I can't hold it in.
I can't hold it in. There's a lot of all district volleyball players that are coming back this season for multiple divisions, and how can you not be excited for what we're going to have in store for us this year?
Let's take a break so Anthony can calm down a little bit and get refocused on what else we have on Running Point today. This is Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown.
Why choose local? Because you live here, work here, learn here, relax here, and celebrate here. 21 WFMJ is our Valley's only locally owned TV station, and our focus is local. Other TV stations don't have that same focus, as their owners are somewhere else. But 21 WFMJ is rooted in the Valley. Local people making decisions that affect your life, right here where you live.
When looking for home design inspiration, don't just be inspired, be Baird inspired. Whether new or remodeling, Baird Brothers has the latest trends like shiplap to refresh your home. Go from inspiration to installation with our wide selection of in-stock American hardwoods. From the rustic charm of antique oak to the warmth of traditional cherry, Baird Brothers has what you need to make your home inspiring. Baird Brothers, our family's heritage, your family's home.
Hi, I'm Colin Chupa.
And I'm Kelsey Clem from K-Squared Marketing.
Our boutique marketing firm specializes in media planning and buying, public relations, event marketing strategies, and strategic sponsorships.
We can integrate our services with your existing game plan, or we can be your entire marketing team.
Your goals, our game plan.
Let's win together. Call K-Squared Marketing at 330-623-2730 or visit ksquared.marketing to learn more.
Change. This one word can make you break out in a cold sweat. But with change comes wisdom, experience, and understanding. At Myers Family Insurance, we can help make changes in Medicare, insurance, and retirement a positive experience for you and your family. We've gone through changes, like our new office and new faces to help our family of clients too.
For all your Medicare needs, call Myers Family Insurance. Check us out online at myersfamilyins.com or find us on Facebook.
Welcome back to Running Point on ysnlive.com, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. Anthony Hartwig with you alongside Ty Bartell as always. And Ty, we just got the exciting news that we are going to officially have a YSN Volleyball All-Star game in the fall. But we do have to kind of stay in the present and leave that excitement to be talked about in later dates. And as that season and that game gets closer, because we do have Class B scores to go over last night that were happening in occurrence with the YSN Softball All-Star game. And I'll start with the 14U Championship Series that kicked off with a offensive and explosion from the Astro Falcons. They win game one over the Avalanche 18-2.
They take it to teams. It seems like when they're upset, and they were certainly upset, and it seemed like that was the case. 18-2. Man, oh man, that's frustrations let loose.
But remember, the Avalanche lost game one to Dura Edge in a pretty decisive manner. I believe it was 23-7. So they're not, and then they came back and won the series. So they're not going to be put down by one game that did not go their way.
No doubt, and we'll have to see how Avalanche tries to bounce back.
So then we go into 18U night that was last night, and it's still Astro Falcons dominating the Creekside Fitness team. The rivalry is strong, but Astro Falcons have been dominating this season. 11-2, they get the win.
Yeah, and I mean, 4 straight innings of offense highlighted by a 6-run fourth, and it was all that Astro needed. They took an 11-0 lead by the 4th inning, and Creekside really didn't have much of a response in this one. 10 hits by Astro bats yet again, 7 walks total, 11 RBIs, and another great pitching performance from the Astros. Surprise, Jared. Jordan Kalenda goes 5 innings, deals a 1-hitter, allowing 2 runs, none of them earned, 2 walks and 6 strikeouts on 74 pitches for him.
Ty, I gotta think that there's just a matchup issue with Falcons and Creekside. Something about it just gives Astro Falcons an advantage, because we've seen other teams be pretty competitive with Astro Falcons this year. Even if they lost, they were close. But man, the Astro Falcons have Creekside's number.
There's just certain teams, you see their jersey and it just gets you red in the face, and other ways too. And flip side, there's just certain teams, you see their jersey and for some reason it just triggers something in you mentally that either prohibits you from playing your normal self, or it gets you into another level where you just, like I said, see red and you're just able to find a different level of talent.
There are also a middle ground there where maybe you don't get intimidated, but you want to beat the team so bad that you actually end up making more mistakes.
Yeah,
sometimes you can want it too much. I know that sounds counterintuitive, but if you're focused too much on I want this, and not in the moment and relaxed and loose, sometimes that can cause a few mistakes here and there. We'll go to the next final tie, and Nightline continues to rampage through the 18U division 5-4. They get the win over Avalanche. They've won 7 of their last 8 now, and they continue to climb the standings.
And Nightline too, they're doing it in a multitude of ways, but yet again coming back from an early deficit. They started out down 3-0 after Avalanche punched them in the mouth out of the start of the gate, top of the first. Nightline chipped away though. 1 run in the bottom of the first, 2 in the bottom of the second to tie it at 3, 2 in the bottom of the third that gave them a 5-3 lead, and they held that lead all the way to the end of the game. Avalanche added 1 in the top of the fifth, but it wasn't enough. 5-4 was your final. And how about this too, Ant? Nightline wins despite 4 errors defensively on the day. 4-1 were the error count. So Avalanche had 3 less errors defensively. Both teams had 6 hits, but Nightline pulls off the victory. And namely, you look at it too, the walks, same, 5 apiece. It was just timely hits that come up in big situations for Nightline.
I'm a firm believer in the phrase that mistakes are as big as the results they cause, and sometimes errors come in fortuitous times for you that they don't cause much damage. If the bases are clear with 2 outs and you boot one and put a runner on first with 2 outs, yes, it gives the team an extra out. You never want to do that, but at the same time, you still got 2 outs and just a runner on first, so it's not a tremendously bad situation. But if you make an error with runners on second and third and you're only up by 1, then that error becomes magnified a little bit. So Nightline, yeah, they made 4 errors, but didn't come back to haunt them. They made them in the right situations, I guess, if you're going to make errors.
Ronnie Harper goes 4 innings in the start. He gets the win. Gavin Schrum closes it out with 2 innings to finish off Avalanche. But another huge win for Nightline on a team that was sitting above them in the standings, and they just keep chipping away at the team sitting ahead of them.
Ballistic gets the win over Dirt Edge in a high-scoring affair, 12-9. But that Ballistic offense all season has been liable to go double-digit runs.
And they did so yet again. Ballistic has been really awesome on offense at times this season, and they really did a great job in this one, putting a 6 spot in the 5th. And actually, that 5th inning was wild. 11 runs scored by both teams, 6 by Ballistic in the top half of the inning, 5 by Dirt Edge in the bottom half of the inning. But actually, that was where the scoring ended, was in that 5th, as the 6th and 7th were held scoreless for both teams. 11 hits by Ballistic, 12 by Dirt Edge. And honestly, you look at the big hitters for Ballistic. You had 2 3-hit performances by Ballistic bats, and Brady Gavula as well as Luke Leonard both coming away with 3-hit days. And we know how hard that is. But also, Gavula gets 4 RBIs on the day. So 3-hit, 4 RBI performance for him. 3-hole hitter. It's what you expect from your RBI leaders.
Another close game in the 18U division last night. Athletics come away with the 2-run victory over Prospect, 7-5.
And this has just been the unfortunate story for Prospects as of late, is just playing in close games, but just unable to grab it last second. And Athletics had a 6-5 lead from the 3rd inning. Almost all the runs, with the exception of 1, were scored in the first 3 innings. It was 6-5 before Athletics tacked on a run in the top of the 6th. But a lot of pitching from innings 4 through 7 that we saw from both sides, shutting them down.
That makes Prospects dangerous, that they're never out of a game, but also, it's something to be said about teams that find ways to win close games and teams that consistently don't have to try to make that next step to say, we have to find ways to make game-winning plays. We talk about that in every sport. Seemed like football, there were a couple of teams that always got close but could never make that game-winning play. Basketball the same way. They'd always be competitive in the sport, but they could never make that game-winning shot. And the Prospects right now are struggling with, being competitive, being right there, putting themselves in positions to win, which is step 1, but then unable to make those game-winning type plays to push them over the edge and get them wins, which is something they'll have to grow and learn how to do as the summer goes on.
Yeah, for sure. They've been right there, though. And I mean, Prospects continuing to look good, but credit Athletics pulling off this victory.
Last score from the night, Eagleware gets the 11-5 win over Whiting, and this is a nice, solid momentum-building win for Eagleware, who's had a pretty tough summer.
Yeah, Steve Rowan, we know him too. Had a 3-hit performance in that one, RBI as well. So like I said, you get 3-hit days from guys. You'll take that any day of the week. Not an easy thing to accomplish. So the 3-hit, the what do they call that? The hat trick, right? The hat trick 3-hit day for Stevie Rowan.
You're throwing out some hockey now that the Stanley Cup is over.
Yeah, right. Gotta throw in a little bit.
You're a little late. Hockey season's over now, Ty.
Yeah, a little bit. But hey, and we got those scores in. How about we take a look at these standings and how things are shaking out? Astro, it just seems like every time Astro wins, they get, or Astro loses, they get a big win that kind of counteracts the loss that they just had. And that's exactly what happened with this Creekside win. They stand firmly in first in 18U at 20-2. Creekside falls behind them at 17-6. Then it goes Avalanche at 13-10, Nightline at 12-10. Ballistic and Athletics fall right behind at 11-12. Dura Edge is 10-12. Prospects are 6-16, and so is Whiting and Eagleware as they round things out. I think out of the games, though, how can we not keep looking at Nightline? They beat Avalanche. We talked about it yesterday. This is a game that Nightline needed to win to try to keep pace with the standings and just showcase that they can beat anybody. They now own this season series against Avalanche. That's one check mark on teams above them. They have a chance to do it against Creekside and Astro still.
But there's still that log jam right in the middle, Ty, between third place and sixth place, fourth, fifth, seventh place, actually. Third place and seventh place. They're separated by a combined 2.5 games. Like, there's this big log jam in the middle of 18U. Avalanche, Nightline, Ballistic, Athletics, Dura Edge. They all are right there. 4 of them have double-digit wins, and then all of them have double-digit wins from third place to seventh place. So big log jam in the middle of the 18U, which means that's going to make the playoffs very interesting because who comes out of those series, it's anyone's game.
And I mean, we've been talking Nightline a lot, but I mean, you have to talk Nightline just looking at what they've been able to do and the wins they've been able to get. Wins against teams like Ballistic, Athletics, Avalanche, Creekside in just this week since Monday, June 20th. So in 8 days, they have now beaten teams that are sitting firmly above them and in that middle of the pack. And that's huge for Nightline and getting themselves into these standings. They're sitting in 4th place right now.
And they are sitting in 4th place. And they've, like I said, they've won 7 of the last 8. And we look at what's next for them. They'll be playing again tomorrow night. And it will be a matchup with Prospects, which is a team below them. So you have to consider that a game that Nightline has to win to keep momentum. You have to beat the teams that are below you.
Nightline has 5 games left on their schedule. They got 2 away. That's their next 2 at Prospects and at Eagleware. They finished the next 3 out at home against Dura Edge, Astro Falcons, and Creekside on the season.
That means 3 of their next 5 games are against teams that are below them in the standings. So those are the 3 that they have to make sure they shore up and win. And then if they do that, they can take momentum into the games against Astro Falcons and Creekside. They've already proven they can be competitive with Astro Falcons. They've split 2 games, but both of them have been one-run affairs. They beat Astro Falcons 11-10. They lost to them 4-3. So they know they can compete with Astro Falcons. They just have to bring momentum into that game by winning the next 3 against the teams that are below them.
And like I told you, when you can beat teams in season series, it does a lot for your confidence. And I think that's exactly what we've seen because the teams that are above them, the 3 teams Nightline has above them, Avalanche, Creekside, and Astro. Going into last night, they were tied 1-1 in the season series with all of them. So they've beaten them at least once. They've showcased that they can beat them at least once. Well, now with that win against Avalanche, they've now beaten Avalanche in the season series 2-1. You still got 1 more game with Creekside, 1 more game with Astro. What if, and imagine if Nightline gets 1 or even both of those victories? How do you not consider Nightline as, I don't even know if you call them a dark horse anymore. How do you not consider them one of the favorites if they're owning season wins against the teams that are above them in the standings?
Now, a lot would have to happen. Creekside pretty much has that second place spot locked up with 5 games left. I think they're 4 games up on Avalanche right now, 4.5 up on Nightline. So, but technically, Nightline's still in the hunt for that second place spot, but much more realistically, just trying to jump Avalanche and secure themselves in that 3 hole.
If I'm not mistaken, Ant, isn't it top 4?
Top 4, just like,
top 4. So Nightline, you got to imagine Nightline would rather secure themselves into a duel with Creekside, I would think, before Astro. Leave Astro to take on the Avalanche in that first round. Let us have Creekside. Not that
honestly, I think the Astro Falcons are hoping for that too because they don't want to see Nightline in the first round. I don't
think Astro wants to see Nightline either, honestly.
Especially since they have to play them the second to last game of the season. So it'll be interesting. When that game approaches, they'll have 2 more games under their belt. So it'll look a lot more clear. Is there any strategy that goes into that game if you kind of understand at that point that Nightline's going to be squared up to play you? Do you throw stuff? Do you show them a lot, knowing that you're going to have to play them in the first round? It'll be interesting because that 4-spot tie is not locked up by a mile. Like
No.
we said, the standings are so locked up between 3 and 7. So Nightline is sitting at 4th, but they have only a half game lead over the 5th and 6th place team in Ballistic and Athletics. I should say a game and a half lead.
I
And
think
then just a 2-game lead over the 7th place team in Dura Edge. So they have 3 teams right behind them trying to bite into that 4th place spot.
really, realistically, you look at the loss column alone because that's the important thing. Everyone's going to get there eventually. How many losses do you have on the season? I think it's key that Nightline has at least a 2-game edge on all the other teams below them in the loss column. The biggest thing is with 5 games left now, you win 3 of these next 5, you guarantee yourself a spot then in the tournament.
And you look at their remaining schedule again, and like I said, 3 of their next 5 games are against teams that are below them in the standings, and it's Prospects, Eagleware, and Dura Edge, who are all 3 pretty significantly below them in the standings. So they have to win those games.
And you talk about have to, and those are kind of your must-win games. Yeah, you kind of throw 50-50 at the wall with Creekside and Astro, but for you to kind of control your own destiny and you don't need any help then to get into the tourney, win 3 of these next 5 games against the teams that you quote-unquote should beat. Now we know what that means in baseball. The teams you should beat doesn't necessarily mean you're going to win, but if you beat the teams that are sitting below you in the standings, you book yourself into that tournament.
This team was 2-4, 2-5, 2-6. They were 2-6 at one point in the season, and sitting in the bottom barrel of the league standings. And now they've climbed their way all the way up to sitting in a spot to fight for the playoff berth. It's an incredible story.
I believe I remember calling a game with them just a few weeks ago where I was talking about Nightline sitting in 8th place in these standings, and it wasn't looking like they were going to even be have the potential to be a playoff team. And right now, they're sitting right at the edge of completing that goal. And hey, you need to get a couple more wins, but they're right there to do so.
And they haven't. The other teams haven't separated themselves. That's been another key factor. Avalanche, Nightline. Avalanche, Athletics, Dura Edge, Ballistic. None of them have really taken the reins and tried to separate themselves in the pack. So it's opened the door for Nightline to get back into the conversation. If Avalanche had a tremendous season and just kind of ran away with the 3rd place spot, then maybe we're not talking about this. But none of those teams ran away with a spot.
No, and don't book any of these games with Nightline as wins either. Yes, they're 2-0 against Eagleware on the season. They're 1-1 against the Prospects. They're actually 0-2 against Dura Edge on the season. So Dura Edge already has the season win against Nightline, 2-0 against them. So just kind of like how Creekside and Astro, there's that kind of mojo there. You might have the same thing with Dura Edge and Nightline. And right now, you got to figure Nightline's looking at that one, realizing we dropped 2 games to them before. We need this one. We need to at least get 1 here to try to get ourselves a spot.
I want to look at Ballistic and what they have remaining in their game schedule, because they're sitting right there. They're trying to fight for a 4th place spot as well. They have 4 games left on their slate. And it's Creekside, Prospects, Astro, Whiting. So, in a realistic world, you could think, that's a very splittable schedule. You go 50-50 with Creekside and Astro, but you got to win against Prospects and Whiting. That's a tough spot to be in when you're trying to get into a 4th place spot and you have 2 games left against top 2 teams in the division. I think you're muted.
It always connects to a different microphone. I hate when it does that. But Ballistic, yeah, absolutely. You see what they've been able to do this season. They have that offense, but their pitching can go cold sometimes too. And when they get into offensive slugfest, there are teams that can beat them doing that style of play. And right now, when you have to beat some of these top teams, Ballistic's path to the playoffs, it's going to look like they need to get a big win against one of these.
Well, it's been a tough week for Ballistic. They're 1-3 in their last 4.
It is. And I mean, they're trending down and Nightline's trending up. And we talk about it so often in baseball seasons, whether it's high school, Class B, what have you. When you get hot is just as important as if you get hot at all in a season. You can get hot in a baseball season, but timing it just right is the bigger, I think, thing you got to look at.
Ballistic's big time in the season was right smack dab in the middle when they went on a 3-game winning streak, and they won 4 of 5 in the early weeks of June. And then they kind of tailed a little bit. They lost 3 in a row. They got back. They won 2 of their next 3, and then they won 4 of their next 6. But after that, they've lost 3 of their last 4. So a little bit up and down season for Ballistic. They're riding that roller coaster that Coach Bailey used to talk about in soccer season, where you got to stay even, right? You got to do this instead of this. So Ballistic, unfortunately, is falling into this trap here.
I want to talk about one team too in the Avalanche. I think most likely your most favorable schedule. They got 4 games left: Whiting, Athletics, Prospects, Dura Edge.
And I do want to. These are games that are locked into the schedule. I don't know if there are makeup games that haven't been put into this website schedule yet.
Yeah, I'm not sure of that either. Of exactly how many makeup games, if there are any in 18U that are still out there. But I'm not seeing anything, at least on some of these schedules. But I definitely think, like we said, the schedule plays an important factor. And honestly, if you look at wins and losses from competition-wise, Avalanche has the most favorable schedule.
I'm sorry for yawning. I don't know what's up. I'm not tired, but sometimes your body's just like, hey, guess what? Gotta yawn. But yeah, Avalanche has a favorable schedule. And you could argue that, unless they find themselves, barrel rolling, they should be locked into at least a 3 or a 4 spot.
You would think so. As
but it's not locked in. They're favorable schedule. They're comfortable. They're in the driver's seat for sure. But because of that log jam we're talking about, there are a lot of teams that can bump them.
There's definitely a lot of teams that can bump them, but they're comfortable right now, and they just got to take care of their business. And if they're able to do that, they got a spot in the tournament.
This is a 18U division where 1 and 2 is pretty locked in. But there's a dogfight for 3 and 4, which makes it still just as interesting.
It is interesting, especially considering that number 4 has beaten the 3 teams that sit above them right now.
That's what makes it the most fun, is that there's a team in there that has proven they can beat the top teams in the division. While we're at it, let's look at Athletics, who also are in the hunt for that 4 spot. Sitting in 6th place right now, but they're tied with 6th. They have left on their schedule 4 games, and it is Astro next on Wednesday, and then Avalanche, Whiting, and Eagleware. So once again, 2 and 2. You have 2 games against teams that are below you, and 2 games with teams that are ahead of you. So in a perfect world, you'd love to win all 4, but you got to think, you got to win 3 out of 4 to try to have a chance at that 4 spot. You can't go 2 for 2.
Yeah, you need to get your wins in order, and you need to take care of business against the teams you're supposed to.
And they have lost 3 of 5, so they're on a little bit of a skid. And like I said, they haven't really taken. They had a chance to take the reins on this spot, but they have a couple of weeks where they have multiple losses in a row. On June 10th and 11th, they lost 3 games in a row on a Friday and Saturday. Then they dropped 2 in a row on Friday and Sunday and last weekend. So the weekends have not been kind to the Athletics.
Just petition to start playing on weekly.
Yeah, can we only play on weekdays, please? Because these weekend games not going our way.
Hey, they stink.
They stink.
These weekend games stink. They're trying to be athletics are daydreaming. It seems like about what they want to be doing for the week, and no doubt. But hey, it's just the way baseball is, and there's some weird instances like that where you'll see it lines up. You try to create a correlation between it, but it's just the way it is sometimes. Sometimes it's just funny and it lines up that way.
But they are on a 2-game winning streak. They won on Sunday 6-5, and then they won last night 7-5. So they'll look to take some momentum into the week, but they have Astro Falcons next, so they're going to need all their heavy guns if they're going to win that game.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely, you need all hands on deck to secure those big victories late in the season.
And look, Astro Falcons have been exceptionally dominant, but they have proven that there are little chinks in their armor. They haven't been unbeatable. No one's unbeatable in this division. So even though the Astro Falcons have more often than not blown teams away, there have been a couple games here and there where they've shown a little bit of chinks in that armor. So you got to go into that game confident if you're the Athletics, and you have to realize that it's almost a must win. If you don't win that game against Astro, you got to win three in a row to end the season to have any shot at that 4 spot.
And that's a tough ask, but hey, that's why you play the games. You never know unless you see exactly what happens. So we just await to see what the results are. But
they lost 11-5 to Astro in their first meeting, and then the last time they met, they lost 10-0. So they've been able to score against them, but they've also given up 21 runs in 2 games. And so the Athletics are going to need to find a way to try to silence that offense.
Astro and Nightline tied 1-1 in the series. They've both scored 14 runs against each other. So if you want a team that's deadlocked, even with Astro this season too, there it is. Nightline has shown
it was 2 dramatically different games, right? So the one was 11-10, like offensive firepower. The next one was more of your prototypical average baseball game. Wasn't a straight up pitcher's duel, but it wasn't a high scoring affair. 4-3, the Astros got the win.
And like we said, at the end of the day, it's 14 runs scored for both teams in 2 games, and both games were decided by 1 run. So that's as close can get, and they've showcased they can battle each other in multiple game settings.
Astro have that one clunker against Whiting.
That one too. I mean, that might be beneficial to Astro, though, right?
I know.
To kind of get one of those losses out of the way. And if you're gonna lose to another team in this season, right? Another team in this series or whatever in the rest of the regular season, I guess I should say. I would think Astro is going to say anybody but Nightline, right? We want to lose to anybody.
No, they're not. Let's be honest, Ty. I get that mentality, but honestly, I think the Astro Falcons, because they have that swag, they have that confidence in themselves. They're going to say, bring on Nightline.
Well, of course they're going to say bring on Nightline, and they're going to have that confidence. But like I was saying, if you're going to have another loss in the season, the only team you don't want to lose to again is Nightline, because you don't.
Right, I get what you're saying now. Okay.
You don't want Nightline having that season edge on you going into the tournament, saying we got 2-1. Not so much for Astros' confidence sake, but more for Nightline. You don't want Nightline having that confidence going into tournament.
Here's a conversation, Ty, and I'm going to ask you. If Nightline wins that game, they get uber confident and they take it into the playoffs, and maybe the Astro Falcons are either, deflated or they're even more mad for that first playoff game. But even if the Nightline loses that game, they still got to have confidence, because they've still beaten the Astro Falcons this season and they've competed with them. So I think the only thing that can happen to kind of shake Nightline's confidence moving forward is if the Astro Falcons just put their foot down. Right?
Like that's what I was going to say. Unless Astro boat races them like they've been, and we see like a lopsided 12-2 or a 14-6 score or something like that, where Astro just puts it and piles it on and removes all doubt early on.
If Nightline can win the games that aren't against Astro and then keep that Astro game close and competitive, even if they don't win, they have to be in the back of the Astro Falcons' mind, like, what do we have to do to really beat this team?
Would you, if you're Nightline, do you want Astro right out of the gates, or do you want them for the championship with everything on the line?
The only way I wouldn't, obviously, you take what you get a seat at the table. But in my opinion, like, the only way I wouldn't want them right out in the first round is if they did boat race us, because then they have all the confidence in the world. I don't want I don't want to get in that mentality. But even if you keep it close, I'm saying let's go. Let's get them right off the bat. Let's put more pressure on them.
Yeah, like I said, I don't think there's much you're going to do to shake Astros' confidence, but I mean, you could definitely affect your confidence, and Nightline could be riding at it.
Here's a crazy thing, Ty. Even if Nightline loses this next game against Astro, to win the playoff series, they would have 3 wins over Astro Falcons in the season. Because you got to win 2 out of 3.
Yeah.
So, can you imagine if they won this regular season finale and then they won the series? They'd have 4 wins over the Astro Falcons in the Class B season. I can't remember the last time that happened. Now, granted, I haven't been covering Class B baseball for too long, so I'm not up on the huge history and how long it's been. But I'm gonna wager it's been a while since a Class B team carried 4 wins over the Astro Falcons into a season.
And we're looking. It's 4th of July weekend, or that 4th of July weekend. Yeah, is the last week of regular season, and we're going to look to, I know he's a busy man, but we need to look to try to get our GM, Mr. Steve Leslie, on too, to kind of talk about these tournaments too as they're coming up and what he's been seeing from this 18U division, especially down there at Bobstein Park.
It's gonna be wild. It's gonna be a wild last week of the season because of all the teams that are clustered into the middle of the pack, and they're all fighting for that one spot in the playoffs. Top 4 teams make it, and that's it.
It's playoff time, right? It's the nitty gritty of the season. It's what you live for in sports, is the chase for the postseason.
14U is already in those championship series, as they had the playoffs over the weekend, and now they're in the game 2 of the series. Astro Falcons took game 1 pretty handily, 18-2. Game 2 coming up tonight between Avalanche and Astro Falcons, as well as 16U action at Bobstein Park.
We're looking forward to it. It's certainly going to be an exciting time.
We'll talk about tonight's games, some of the big matchups and implications they'll have in the standings, and more next on Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown.
Jimmy Sudman here, director of Isle, Purple Cat, and Golden String. We are happy to support YSN and 2 of my favorite people, Scotty Mincher and Super Dave O'Malley. We are an agency that provides services for adults with disabilities. We infuse humor, passion, and joy into their lives. If you know of any folks with disabilities that need our assistance, please contact us.
How lucky are we to have not 1, but 2 18-hole Donald Ross Championship golf courses right here in our backyards. Mill Creek Golf Course was selected by Golf Week as one of America's 30 best municipal courses, continuing to challenge golfers of all levels and featuring PGA professionals, golf instruction, a players rewards club, kids programs, and a pro shop and grill room for a memorable golf experience. Call or click to schedule your tee time at Mill Creek Golf Course.
At Greenwood Chevrolet, we offer a worry-free experience for all our customers. From sales to financing and even service, we'll help build your perfect vehicle
and lock in your trade value
while your vehicle is being built.
No worries.
We guarantee financing,
regardless of your situation or credit history.
No worries. And when your vehicle needs service,
our award-winning team will get you back on the road.
No worries.
That's what going the extra mile means. Only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Now is the time to think about your future, where you want to go, what you want to be. Your future can start now at Kent State Salem or Kent State East Liverpool. We have programs that will open doors and provide opportunities for you to pursue your passion. We are affordable, we are close. You call it hometown, we call it Kent State University. Learn more at www.kent.edu/Columbiana. You belong here. Reliability, innovation, scale. These 3 values are those we look forward to in our business and in our team. If you're ready for a reliable employer who looks constantly to think outside the box in big ways, we're ready for you. Apply now. Help us push the envelope and deliver success. Envelope 1. Take that one extra step.
Before the lights come on, before the workday begins, before a long day is ended, or it's time to have fun, it all starts with the people at Joe Dickey Electric. From replacing a light fixture in your home to building a substation for your business, no job is too big or too small. The people of Joe Dickey Electric power them all. Joe Dickey Electric, over 60 years of powering the Mahoning Valley.
You're not waiting to see what the world has in store for you. It's more about what you have in store for the world. All you need is the opportunity. All you need are the resources of a large university and the advantages of a personalized academic setting where you can experience new worlds in the arts and sciences, business, and education and make them your own. We are where you shape your future. We are Youngstown State University and proud.
WRS Wealth Advisors, the area's premier wealth and retirement specialists. Located on South Avenue in Boardman.
Welcome back to Running Point on ysnlive.com, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. Anthony Hartwig alongside Ty Bartell. And we are going to talk about the games going on in Class B baseball tonight, 16U action. But first, want to get you guys to check in on Sydney Watts and the Lady Dukes playing in the Columbiana Sparkler tournament down in Boulder, Colorado. They are leading 5-1 right now, and they are in pool play for the next couple of days, and that is one of the biggest travel tournaments in all of travel softball. So we wish Miss Sydney Watts the absolute best. Our YSN Player of the Year continues to really, open some eyes this summer season with the Lady Dukes.
Yeah, and I mean, what we got to experience here at YSN firsthand, everyone else is getting to experience worldwide, and truly one of the most talented softball players I've ever gotten a chance to see at the high school realm, and even beyond that too. I think it's exciting time too, and I love seeing where she's competing every week.
If you're interested in checking out their games, you can head over to the Facebook page of her travel team, which is Lady Dukes 16U National Betsa, and they will put all their games up live on Facebook as they play them in Boulder, Colorado. Once again, the Colorado Sparkler, one of the biggest travel tournaments in all of softball during the summer.
Yeah, no doubt. So a lot of big names that go through there, and a lot of big names that are watching the girls competing there as well.
I'm not saying that you can't go play Power 5 and be a very successful softball player at that elite level if you don't go to that tournament, because that's ludicrous to say something like that. But I will say that I will wager, this is just a number I'm throwing out, maybe 85% of the players that you see in the Power 5 elite college softball play at that tournament. So that's kind of the level that you kind of are going to be able to see when you go down there.
And
a lot of SEC commits, a lot of Pac-12 commits, a lot of Big 12 commits. It's nothing but high caliber softball.
Imagine how much that's going to help her in her progression to next season.
I told you, I said the one thing Sydney Watts needs to become absolutely locked down is an off-speed pitch, and her coach, Megan Betza, has one of the best off-speed pitches I've ever seen in the college game. And she's going to, I'm sure, be teaching Sydney Watts all summer how to control it.
Yeah, and I mean, that's just how you get more and more dangerous, right? Add another layer to your skill.
Oh, I am physically scared for the players that have to go up against Sydney Watts if she has a dominant off-speed pitch to go with her 68-mile-an-hour rise ball.
Imagine when that speed gets up a little bit too. I mean, by senior year, she's going to be able to keep. You got to figure add a couple miles to the heat as well.
If she starts to hit 70, I mean.
70, and then you have the movement on the pitches that she's able to get to at a breaking ball, at an off-speed pitch. Man, oh man, I mean the stats that she put up with just heat and rise ball primarily this year, and like you said, at an off-speed pitch, She had 300 strikeouts this season. My oh my, what more could she do?
For those of you that don't know or don't like 70 miles an hour for a softball is really equivalent to your 95-mile-an-hour fastball for baseball. If you do the math, 70 miles an hour from 45 feet away, compare it to 95 miles an hour from about 60 feet away for baseball. So it's about your 65 mile. It's about your 95-mile-an-hour fastball. Now the exceptional pitchers that can get up into the mid 70s, like your Montana Fouts, who hits 73, 74, Monica Abbott. Then you start to get into your 100-mile-an-hour fastball, range in baseball.
Imagine, I mean, like that's what we said too. If that's like the ultimate ceiling. If by like senior year she's even touching that, like you talk about someone trying to just complete themselves as a ultimate pitcher too. You add that off speed pitch, you add that kind of speed. I mean, what school wouldn't take you
Well,
then?
no, Ty, like I've been saying, like she can go. I think she could probably go almost anywhere right now. If she hits 73, there is no school in the country, no coach in the country that would say pass on Sydney Watts.
And it's not out of the realm of possibility for her. I don't think in the slightest. She has tremendous power too, and she generates so much power with her pitching as well, and she works on it so much.
High 60s and 70 isn't ultra rare anymore. I mean, remember when we talked to Aaron Gabriel towards the end of the softball season, it's starting to become more and more common that these Power 5 teams all have at least someone on their pitching staff that can probably hit 70 miles an hour. 73, 74, 75 is still extremely rare. You do not see it too often. There might be like 4 girls that are currently playing softball that can hit 74. So if she hits, I'm telling you, if she hits 73, 74, there's not a college coach in the world that will say, nah, I don't want you.
I'm good. We don't need that.
So is it out of the realm of possibility? No, but if she does it, it would be a tremendous feat because there are not a lot of girls that can do that in the world.
Yeah, I mean we're excited too to see all of our players progress. As
and then what's crazy, Ty, one of those players that can hit 74, Monica Abbott, who's also 6'5" with a long stride. So she's throwing it at you at 74, but probably closer to 43 feet away than 45 with the stride that she has.
Yeah, and that's just dangerous.
It's ridiculous.
It gets on you quick.
It's probably like 103, 104 mile an hour fastball in baseball.
And we've seen, I think the fastest in baseball was 105 that we've ever seen. And I mean, that's you talk about
it. Goes right back to there's one girl that can do that in softball, and that's Monica Abbott. So one person has done it in baseball. One person has done that kind of feat in softball. So it's not seen too often.
Yeah, it's a tremendous feat, certainly.
So that being said, once again, we want to wish Sydney Watts and all her travel teammates the best of luck in Colorado and the rest of our YSN family that is continuing their travel season for the next couple weekends. Best of luck in the travel organizations. Now, Ty, venture back to the baseball summer play and the Class B 16U games that we'll have on the network tonight. Let's go through the matchups and what kind of implications they're going to have in these 16U standings.
Yeah, looking at the schedule, 5 games on the docket for 16U tonight.
You hit the games, and I'll shout out who the announcers are going to be there for.
Scene 1, it's going to be Whiting and Eagleware at 5:30, followed by Astros and Dura Edge at 8.
Richie Giuliano will be on Scene 1 for both of those games.
Just one game on Scene 2 as Nightline takes on Ballistic at 5:30.
That'll be Matt Mayer. And then on Scene 2 at 8 o'clock, it'll be Game 2 of that 14U Championship Series, I believe, because we are scheduled to be at Scene 2 at 8 o'clock.
Yep, as I believe you're correct there as well, Anthony. Yes, it is that as well. And then Scene 3 is going to have Creekside take on Avalanche at 5:30, followed by Athletics taking on the Prospects at 8.
Bob Zaney will be on the call for that one. So when you look at that slate, Ty, and I'm going to bring it up for myself as well so I can kind of be in this conversation with you, what matchups kind of really sparked to you for tonight in 16U?
I don't think you're looking further than Creekside and Avalanche right now. Those two are competing for second place in that Livy division. Creekside at 12-5, Avalanche at 13-4. Creekside 2 games back of Whiting in that division. Avalanche is 1, and this is a battle for second place right now, because if Creekside gets this win, they'll have the same amount of losses as Avalanche. But if I'm not mistaken, I believe that would give them the season series. I'll double check and confirm that real quick, because Creekside has played Avalanche. They lost to Avalanche May 29th, and they beat them on June 16th. So 1-1 right now. So it would give you the season win. And that would be big, because it means you jump them anyway in the division. And at the end of the day, that's what you're looking for, right? Is as many division wins as you can. And honestly, the thing about it, too, you look at the standings and you look at the division wins for both of those teams. Both teams sitting 6-2 in the division. So this literally is for second place. Creekside, even though they're a loss back of Avalanche, they win this one. They take firm grip of second place.
When I'm looking at another game that was probably going to be super competitive and a good game tonight, Ballistic versus Nightline. That's 8-9 Ballistic versus 7-10 Nightline, comparable to each other, and it should be a pretty competitive baseball game.
And these two teams are always fun to watch, too, just because of the offense they've been able to bring to the table this season. And honestly, you look at 16U as a whole and just some of the team stats that these two teams are putting up offensively. Look at what Ballistic's doing. They're putting up they're batting 253, but here the RBI total is at 74 RBIs batted in, and they've also scored 84 runs as a team. Pretty similar in Nightline, only 10 runs up from that 94. They're batting 268, so a similar average in that as well, as both these teams have had offensive outbursts at games.
This will be the second and final matchup with Ballistic, the interdivisional matchup between Nightline and Ballistic. The first time they squared up, it was a 5-2 win over Nightline for Ballistic. So it could be a pretty competitive game tonight as well.
Nightline looking to get a little bit of revenge from earlier in the season.
Revenge is a plate best served cold.
For sure.
Now, Whiting's playing Eagleware. Now, we know Eagleware's had a really tough season, but this is a game that Whiting has to win, because all of a sudden, Avalanche is right on their heels. So
yeah, and it's not out of the realm of possibility either that Eagleware gets their first win of the season. And hear me out. I know 14-3 against 0-17 Eagleware. It looks bleak, but if you really look a little bit deeper into these scores, Eagleware has been close in quite a few games against some really good teams as well. And namely, they've been more competitive in the last couple of games that they've had against Athletics, and they've scored some runs against Nightline. It's just been pitching is the issue. But hey, we've seen it before and time again. Any pitcher can get hot and have a great day on the mound down there at Scene
So
Park.
I guess they're kind of in the same boat that the Prospects 18U is the last couple of weeks, being close, being competitive, but not being able to make those game-winning plays. And those teams are dangerous because they have to figure out one thing. If they just figure out how to make those big hits or how to make that clutch play, then all of a sudden that close competitive game that you beat them in becomes a loss to a winless team.
Yeah, and we'll see what happens here. They will be home against Whiting, so they will bat in the bottom of the inning. You're looking for a big pitching performance because, yeah, you might not be able to do anything this season, but you don't want to go out winless. You want to get your first win, and if you want to make a statement and throw a big wrench into something and have your name be mentioned, this is Eagleware's shot to do it right here, right?
Hey, if you're going to catch Whiting, it might as well be in a spot where they're kind of on a downtick. They've kind of become a little bit inconsistent in the last week. They've lost a couple. So if you want to catch a really good team, you might as well do it when they're sloping downwards.
Talk about a win that can propel a team confidence-wise into next season as well. And, I mean, just going forward as athletes.
Can you imagine, then it would be a tied for first place if Avalanche is able to win and Eagleware helps them out by getting the win over Whiting, and that'd be wild.
Creekside wins, yeah. If Avalanche or Creekside wins and it follows a Whiting loss, we have a two-way tie for first place. Well, no.
What if they both win and Whiting loses and we have a three-way tie?
Oh wow, that'd be interesting. It still could. 2 games separate 3 teams in that one division right now.
And don't forget, it's another division, but the Astro Falcons are 1 game back from putting the flag stamp on the best team in 16U. Winning the whole 16U division, which I'm sure is still a little bit important to the teams to say, cross divisions, we are the best team in this 16U bracket.
Yeah, absolutely it does. And honestly, you talk about that 16U Astro team and the way things are shaking out. Astro, big lead in that Hernandez division. They've all but locked it up. And they play the second place team, Dura Edge, who's 8-9. And with 5 games left in the season, a win tonight for Astro against Dura Edge clinches the Hernandez division for Astro.
It's not mathematically clinched, it's realistically clinched. Now they can mathematically clinch it tonight.
Yeah, they can mathematically eliminate all other teams from contention because at that point they'll only have 4 games left on the schedule, and the closest team I think would be 6 games back, games wise. So not possible to catch Astro then.
Ty, we also have Class. I should not say Class B baseball. We just talked about that. We also have the Little League District Day 2 of softball on the network tonight. As myself, Noah Doty, and Dom O'Brien will be down at the Field of Dreams for 10U and 12U softball. We'll look at the brackets, the results from last night real quick, as we were, kind of stockpiled for the All-Star game. But it was in 12U, it was Canfield getting the win over Austintown, and Boardman beat Poland. So tonight, Boardman will play South Range, and I believe Austintown will play Poland in the loser bracket game.
Should be.
So I think the loser bracket game will be at 6, and the winners bracket game between Boardman and South Range will be at 8. And I will have the call for both the 12U games. As far as the 10U games are concerned, let's look at the results from last night. As Canfield beat Boardman and Austintown defeated Poland. So at 6 o'clock, you'll have Canfield versus Austintown on S1. And you'll also have a game at 8 o'clock down there for 10U as well. So doubleheader for both 10U and 12U softball district Little League baseball at the Field of Dreams tonight. 6 and 8 o'clock for 12U and 6 and 8 o'clock for 10U. Once again, myself, Noah Doty, and Dom O'Brien will have the calls for those games, and it should be a fun time.
Before we get out of here, how excited are you to be able to experience this? I know you kind of got derailed from doing it yesterday because we had something important, all-star game to get to yesterday.
Ty, this is my first, well, not my first chance, because we did the rec championships last week where we got to see a lot of the players that will be playing in this game for all these teams, especially the Boardman teams that we got to see in the BCB championships. But I'm just so stoked to see the future and to be able to pour into the future of these high school teams and get to know these players early and be able to know what's coming up when it comes up in a couple of years and be able to say, hey, I saw this girl when she was 12 or when she was 11. And I know she is going to be a really good varsity player when she comes up to the high school level. So to be able to kind of feed into the youth of this sport, something that, YSN's only 4 years old, so we're still trying to feed into the youth of sports. We've had a couple of kids now come from being interviewed when they were 14 all the way up until now their seniors graduated. But now we're going to go even deeper. We're going to be able to cover these kids when they're 10, 11, 12, and we're going to be around when they're kind of going into high school too. So it's going to even strengthen our relationship with the players and the parents and the communities even more, which is what I'm really excited about. So now when these kids come into their senior year, they're going to be covered by YSN for 7 seasons.
And that's really cool, in building a profile and building things like YSN Prospect too, like what's in the works. And I mean, imagine that too. And the best things take time to build, but imagine that 7 years from now having clips from back when you were in 12U, 10U, all the way through your senior highlight clips of just everything that you like. That's a cool thing to think to have that many seasons covered.
You get to mash and say, hey, I hit a home run on YSN when I was 12 years old. Now I'm doing it when I'm in a high school, something like that. You can't take that away. You can never relive those moments, and we get to document them and give them memory banks for you when you get older. So that's what we love. And I'm so excited to see the future of the sport today. 12U softball doubleheader, a lot on the line, because in that Poland versus Poland versus Austintown game, someone's getting knocked out, right? It's a loser's bracket game, double elimination. Someone gets knocked out. And then in the Boardman versus South Range game, South Range gets to bye, and they await a Boardman team that beat Poland 10-0 last night. So they're going to play a Boardman team that comes in hot, but they're also going to be the team that gets the bye. So it's going to be a tough test for Boardman, but they're looking to win 2 in a row and put themselves into that championship series of the bracket.
I'll be tuning in. It should be exciting for tomorrow night. Certainly, don't want to forget, and want to remind you all too that we should have, I believe, Brian Tolnar still greenlit for tomorrow's show, if I'm not mistaken. As if that is the case, we're gonna have a lot to talk with Brian about, considering the fact that we just had the AJGA tournament just last week, as well as we have now 2 episodes that will be released. The next one we'll have to talk to about Brian and get some deeper takes on Tolnar's tips.
Today on S1, by the way, for softball, you will have Canfield versus I think Austintown won that game. Now I forget what I said. Canfield versus Austintown at 6:00 on S1, and then on M1 for 10U tonight, you will have Poland versus Boardman in the losers bracket game.
Exciting times, Ant. We're gonna have teams moving on.
What happens is the winner of that losers bracket game between Poland and Boardman will move on to play the loser of Austintown versus Canfield. The winner of Austintown versus Canfield goes right to the championship series, and they will await the winner of that loser of game 2 versus the winner of the losers bracket game. And then that team would have to beat the winner of tonight's game on S1 twice in the championship. So it's kind of a double elimination bracket. If you watched college softball or baseball, it's pretty much the same setup as one of their regionals, where it's 4 teams in the bracket, and you gotta win twice. I mean, you gotta lose twice to be out. So if you win 2 in a row, you go right to the championship series. And then if you have to get out of the losers bracket, you have to beat that team twice in a kind of best 2 out of 3 series to win the region, or to win the district in this case. So it's that kind of setup, and it'll be fun to watch as teams fight for their lives. It's Survival Tuesday at Field of Dreams, but it's also one team going to punch their ticket to the championship series tonight as well.
And you can find it all on ysnlive.com/live as well.
Yes, you can. And you can even, we have the QR code that'll take you right to our YSN Live page. So you can do that. You can also follow along on the BCB page of Youth Sports. That's where you will find these games. But I think the easiest way to do it is just go to the live games page and click on whichever game you want to watch. Total of 6 and then 10. So I think 10 games on the network tonight, 6 in Class B and 4 in Little League District Softball. So a total of 10 games on the network tonight. It'll be a busy one, ranging from 5:30 going all the way until the last game starting up at 8. So another night where you have coverage on YSN or something on YSN from 12 o'clock with us all the way up until whenever those Little League games and Class B games are done, probably at least 9:30, 9.5 hours of content on ysnlive.com in a given day. That's what we call a good day's work, and we are not taking a rest just because it's the summer weeks. So make sure to tune into YSN all day, all night. For us, we're going to take a 22-hour break. We'll be back tomorrow with a Wednesday episode of Running Point on ysnlive.com. Scotty will be in the studio. We'll get Brian Tolnar on, and we'll try to get some other guests for you from Class B or Little League Softball as well. We're going to have some fun tomorrow. Casual Sports Podcast coming up next from 2 to 3, and then the Power Hour from 3 to 4. And then we have softball and baseball starting at 5:30 tonight on ysnlive.com. Thank you all for tuning in.